The lunchroom at Crestwood High School was a chaotic symphony of clattering trays, the hum of vending machines, and the constant rise and fall of teenage voices bouncing off tiled walls. Fluorescent lights cast a pale glow over the rows of long tables, where clusters of students huddled in their usual social territories, athletes near the windows, drama club in the corner by the trophy case, and the loners scattered along the far wall like islands in a noisy ocean. At the very center of it all stood the serving line, a long stainless steel counter manned by women in hairnets and aprons, dishing out steaming plates of the day's lunch. Behind the counter, moving with calm efficiency, was Miss Loretta Simmons, the woman most of the kids knew simply as the lunch lady. Miss Loretta had been working in the Crestwood cafeteria for nearly 6 years, and in that time she had served over 100,000 meals and listened to more adolescent drama than she cared to remember. She was in her late 50s, tall and sturdy, with a warm, deep brown complexion and eyes that could soften with compassion or harden with authority in a heartbeat. Her hair, neatly braided, was tucked under a navy hairnet, and she wore the standard white apron over a faded blue shirt. To the casual observer, she was just another cafeteria worker, an anonymous fixture in the background of high school life. But behind those steady eyes and quiet manner was a woman who had lived many lives, lives no one here knew about. To the students, she was the one who ladled mashed potatoes onto their plates, who occasionally reminded them to take a fruit cup, who told them not to run in the serving line. They didn't see the precision in the way she handled equipment, the careful way she organized her station, or the quick assessments she made when someone looked upset or sick. They certainly didn't see the Navy veteran who had once kept massive engines running under impossible conditions, or the single mother who had raised 2 boys on her own while working double shifts. No, to most of these kids, she was just Miss Loretta, the lady with the ladle. It was a Friday, and the special of the day was chicken casserole with green beans and cornbread. Loretta was used to the complaints, kids were predictable that way. Sure enough, right on cue, a group of varsity basketball players approached, their leader, Troy Matson, swaggering at the front. Troy was a tall, broad-shouldered senior with a reputation for winning games and running his mouth. His jersey hung loose over his jeans, and his sneakers squeaked as he sauntered forward, smirking like the cafeteria was his personal stage. "Hey, Miss Loretta," he drawled, loud enough for his crew to hear. "What's on the menu today? Mystery meat surprise with a side of, whatever that is?" He jabbed a finger toward the casserole pan and pulled an exaggerated face of disgust. The boys behind him chuckled, some elbowing each other. A couple of girls at the nearby table hid their smiles behind their hands. This was a routine for Troy: find someone safe to pick on, make a joke, bask in the cheap laughs. Loretta didn't even blink. "Baby, it's chicken casserole," she replied in her deep, even voice. "You eat it or you go hungry. Your choice." Troy smirked, taking the tray she offered but immediately sliding it aside. "Guess I'll go hungry then," he said, tossing the words over his shoulder as if they were a punchline. "Not like you know how to cook anything besides slop." The laughter that followed wasn't entirely genuine, half the kids were laughing because it was expected. In a place like high school, social survival often meant laughing along. Loretta knew the game. She'd been around teenagers long enough to know which ones hid insecurity behind arrogance. She simply kept serving the next student without another word, her expression unreadable. But she was listening. She always listened. The lunchroom noise swelled again, the moment passing, until the intercom crackled to life with a sharp burst of static. The principal's voice came through, urgent and tight. "Attention, staff and students. Please remain in the cafeteria. This is not a drill." The sudden change in tone sliced through the chatter like a knife. Conversations faltered. Students exchanged uncertain glances. The double doors to the hallway clanged shut as the janitor moved quickly to lock them from the inside. Loretta's hand paused over the serving tray, her eyes narrowing slightly. She recognized that tone, the clipped, commanding edge in a voice trying to hide the fact that something was wrong. The principal's voice came again, a little more controlled this time but no less serious. "We are dealing with a situation in the science wing. Please stay calm and remain where you are until further instructions." A ripple of whispers spread through the room. What happened? Was it a fight? Is there a fire? Someone claimed they'd heard an explosion. Someone else swore it was a chemical spill. The cafeteria door burst open and a teacher rushed in, her face pale and tense. It was Mrs. Keating, one of the chemistry teachers. She went straight to the principal's assistant, who had been manning the lunch line's register. Loretta, catching the low, urgent words, heard enough to piece it together. "It's the chemical lab," Mrs. Keating whispered. "Something's leaking, possibly gas. We can't get the main valve shut off." Loretta's spine straightened. She knew that kind of problem too well. Mrs. Keating was explaining that maintenance was trying to locate the right shutoff, but the kids were already catching the word gas and reacting. Chairs scraped. Nervous laughter bubbled up. A few students started to stand, eyes darting toward the exits. "Everyone sit down," the assistant called, but her voice was shaky. Loretta took a step forward, her mind already mapping the building in her head. She'd been in and out of every wing over the years, had seen the maintenance closets, the old boiler room, the network of pipes running behind the walls. The cafeteria was on the opposite side from the science wing, which was good for the students' safety, for now. But if gas was leaking and they didn't shut it down fast, the danger wouldn't stay contained. Without a word, Loretta untied her apron, folding it neatly over the counter. Underneath, she wore a worn navy blue t-shirt, the faded letters barely visible but still legible if you knew what you were looking at, U.S. Navy Engineering Corps. "Where's the shut-off panel?" she asked, her voice steady. Mrs. Keating blinked. "What?" "The gas main. Where is it?" Loretta's tone left no room for doubt. The teacher hesitated. "It's in the maintenance hallway, but..." Before she could finish, Loretta was already moving, grabbing a pair of thick work gloves from a hook near the utility shelf. "Somebody hold my spot on the serving line," she called back over her shoulder. The hallway outside the cafeteria was eerily quiet compared to the lunchroom. Loretta could smell it now, a faint, metallic tang in the air, the kind that prickled the back of her throat. As she approached the science wing, she saw two maintenance men crouched by a tangle of pipes, flipping through a laminated manual with increasing frustration. "The pressure's still rising," one muttered. "You're looking at the wrong schematic," Loretta said as she stepped into the doorway. Both men turned, startled. "Ma'am, you can't be here. You're using the new building plans," she cut in. "This wing was renovated in 1992. The gas lines weren't replaced. The shutoff you need is here." She pointed to a dusty valve half hidden behind a storage cabinet. "Close that first, then bleed the line there to stop the backflow." One man frowned. "How do you?" "Navy," she said shortly. 15 years. "Engine room." She pulled the cabinet aside with a grunt, reached for the valve, and gave it a hard spin. The wheel groaned but turned, the hiss of escaping gas shifting in pitch. Moving to the bleed-off port, she twisted it open, releasing a controlled hiss that filled the space. The gauge needle trembled, then began to fall. 90 seconds later, the pressure was at 0. Loretta closed the port and stepped back. "Ventilate the hallway," she instructed. "And get those schematics updated before this happens again." When she returned to the cafeteria, every eye was on her. Word had spread before she'd even made it halfway back. Students sat in stunned silence, Troy among them, his earlier arrogance replaced by something else, respect, maybe, or at least the awareness that he'd been wrong. Loretta tied her apron back on, picked up her ladle, and said in the same calm tone as before, "Now, who still wants casserole?" No one laughed this time. And from that day on, no one at Crestwood High ever looked at Miss Loretta Simmons and saw just the lunch lady again.